Hello, you guys. Welcome to season 2. I'm your girl, Mianka Wright, your hostess with the mostest. And I am the creator and founder of A Set Apart Generation podcast. And today, you guys, I want to give some exhortation and let you know that God is in control. He's always in control. I'm here to let you know that God is a promise keeper and He cares about even the smallest of details in our lives. And I hope this message edify, give some encouragement and give some faith because God is in control. All right, let's jump in. So these past few months, I would say there's been a lot of good things. So many good things that some of the stuff I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep quiet about. But some of the things I do want to share. I'm a firm believer in testimony. Back in the day, they don't do it anymore, but the old school church I went to, by the way, I grew up in church. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not like new to this. I'm true to this. All right. New to relationship, I would say, but definitely that religious, all that traditional and all that humanism. I'm very familiar with that. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So back in the day, they would be a testimony time that the children of God would get up in church and say the goodness of God. They would just share their story, share their testimony. So that kind of like just stayed with me. And it was one of the staples in my personality and how I wanted to go about and be about my Father's business. I told God, I said, look, in a world, I was a hot mess. I couldn't keep my mouth closed of evil. Now I will not keep my mouth closed of your glory. I say all that to say God is so good. And I hope that this message edify and bring faith to someone who probably was like, man, God, do you hear me? God, you there? What's going on? Because definitely He's in control. So these past few months have been so peaceful. I've been real quiet about it. It's something about just not even letting people in a good space and good time for you that you really actually get to enjoy it. Now I know why people go on vacation and don't take pictures. They really serenading it, not getting no negative energy, not getting no conflicting thoughts, conflicting emotions about what is a good time for yourself. I remember when I first came out, charting new territories and, people like, what is she doing? Who is this girl? I just came and kicked the door down like, welcome. God sent me here. Hey, how y'all doing? I told God, I said, God, you bringing me back to you. You are not just getting me. I am going to bring back as many as I can. Didn't He say we overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony, and they love not their lives enough to death? Like, didn't He say that? So why am I going to shy away from the goodness of God? Because I know that there is probably someone else who is experiencing what I've experienced, and they need a breakthrough. Most of the time, people get good revelations just by scrolling. So I told God, I said, look, I trust you. I love you. I believe what you're doing. Like I say, God, I'm going to business. You know how you have that presentation and you talking, you getting a business plan and, you letting somebody know like, hey, look, I believe in this. This is what I'm putting my money on. I said, God, this is what I'm putting my faith on. I love sharing testimonies. And I think that's why I went to that type of church, because that kind of was like how I was going to multiply God's goodness. I said, God, you didn't just get one. I'm taking as many as I can. The prodigal's daughter. I said, God, I'm coming home. Moving on, let me also say that it's not easy sharing your testimony. It's so easy to talk about other people. Some of y'all just, y'all never talked about other people. You never gossip, never bear false witness on anyone. You never manipulated, never lied. I love that for you. I really do. But for myself, listen, that was something that was second nature. And for those who knew me a few years ago, no, I didn't have no problem jumping on the platform, cussing every other word. Okay. All right. And not in the grace of Peter. I'm talking about in the Satan, in the demons, when for people who didn't went to hell and understand how they talk. That's how filthy my mouth was, like a sailor. All right. I was a hot mess, callous hearted, manipulated, Jezebelic, everything you can think of. All glory be to God that I'm here. No shame in my game. All right. It's easy to get on and people love that. People always say, look, negativity spreads faster and gets more likes, get more clicks, get more, attention than a good message, than positivity. All right. So for a person who had that mind frame, come over to God. All right. Still utilize telling God's goodness and saying, you know what, God, I am going to put away the nonsense. I looked around. I said, listen, God, this is what's going on in my bloodline. No longer will I pass down any more generational curses. No longer will I bear the yoke of bondage anymore. All right. And God, not only am I going to liberate my bloodline, I am going to speak life to those ears. Let those who have ears hear to your daughters. I resonate with people stories and testimonies who are very close to mine. That's how I know God is still in the business of healing, because I'll be like, dang, God, that's what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm experiencing. I need to hear this message. I need to study where you are in this message so I can be set free. And I am going to focus on things above. Now that's hard. That's hard. So that was just the opening. Let me get to the good stuff. Story time. I went through something very, very difficult for me, kind of knocked me off my square, I will say. So I'm like, okay, God, I have to trust you in another way. All right, God, I learned you here. All right. I learned you there, but I have to trust you here. If you're going to be the God of everything in my life, I have to trust that you are in control. All right. You know how Job lost everything, right? You see, the man had so much. Scholars have a lot of different, perceptions and revelations concerning Job's story. Fire of God came down. Okay. This first test. And I said, why is it that the devil is attacking Job, but the fire of God? This is why you got to understand that he's in control. Always. He's in the midst of every storm. So I'm like, what does the fire of God do? It purifies you. Baby, it get you right. It break that pride, baby. It breaks that chip on your shoulder, baby. It breaks that anger. It breaks every negative and messy thing within you. But Job is righteous. Let that sit there. So anyways, I went through something and I'm telling God, I said, you know what, God, once again, I find myself here asking you the question, what are you trying to show me in this situation? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to build me up? Like, what is it what are you showing me, God? Just giving him full control in areas that I kind of like, maybe you can have your spot, maybe not. Long story short, I ended up praying to God. It was leading up into my breakthrough. I'm praying to God. And mind you, while I'm still praying in my secret place, crying out to God, every day I'm getting more and more and more humble. So I'm telling God, I said, you know what, God? I said, you know what? I am going to release all my clutches, everything I've put before you. Every person you told me to get rid of that I kept close, that's been, working against me. Every feeling in my heart that I've harbored that you said to release and I didn't leave at the altar. For every time that I called on someone else instead of you to come through, I said, God, I leave it here before you. And I cried and I said, yes, Master. So in that prayer, I hear God says, victory cry. We war not against flesh and blood. So I'm in my quiet place. I'm in my secret place. I'm trusting God. I'm having grace. I just said, God, you're in control. I am going to gracefully navigate this situation. So I started I'm like, what is a victory cry? I'm like, do it got something to do with fighting? Victory cry is like a tears of joy. Tears of joy. And as soon as that happened, like a few days later, the floodgates of heaven just opened up. Windows, I mean, every area it was overflow. You know, you guys see my Instagram story. I told about a small little story about God overflow. You won't have room enough to receive. But everything, things that I didn't even expect, things that I wasn't even asking God, but I thought about, kind of just was like, just came. There was so much favor. There was so much grace. Favor was following me, you guys. Opportunities were just coming left, right, left, right. God said, oh, you going to trust me? I got you. You can get whatever you like. So everything that I needed, everything that I wanted, everything that I had got upgraded, next level. Everything got upgraded. And I didn't even ask God. Some of the stuff that I have, I didn't even know that I needed or that could be upgraded and used in a new way. And you guys heard my testimony about humble beginnings, building a platform in your living room, your dining room, whatever the case may be, and using what you have to just glorify God. And here I am. That was just a few months ago. And here I am. God has spin the block for your girl, upgraded everything, loved on me, gave me everything I need, gave me time to study. That's kind of what took a little time as well with putting things out, just learning curve of learning software and stuff like that and training, which by all means evolves over time. And also, if you guys, about my father's business video I did on YouTube, I talked about financial breakthrough. And here I am in a place where I am just learning God, trusting him, understanding his financial freedom promises on a whole new level. And here it is, God provides me a financial breakthrough, glow up and grow me up just a few months later. God is so faithful, you guys. I had got a new job, that kind of like came first. Got a new job, making more money, better hours, closer to my home. And some of you guys do ministry full time and you got extra time. I love that for you. And not worry about, clocking in. And I got a new car. So for a person who went through what I went through financially a few years ago, I talked about, how and what kind of place I was a few years ago financially. That time of my life, I just lacked wisdom. I was very much so a bad steward of a lot of things. Here go a person who had got a car repossessed and then got a new car. All right. And then got another car. But because of the access and overflow, I was able to give somebody else another car. All right. So now they got wheels and I got new wheels. All right. Anything, new environment, everything new, everything new. I was just enjoying God's goodness. Took some trips, got some time, some good time, in between my previous position and new position. God is good. He's always in control. The last testimony I want to just share and I want to actually bring to and let you guys know, I said some crazy testimonies. Like God he has such a sense of humor. I love that. I'm telling you guys, God is so faithful. Some of you guys may mock that, but God really cares about the smallest things in our life. I'm telling you. So for those who don't know, I have a pit bull. She's about 1.5 years. And her name is Cookie, full-blooded pit bull. And she's so beautiful. My sweet baby. And for those who've kind of seen from the beginning up until now, Cookie always is in the presence of God with me when I'm in worship and lifting up the name of God. She's with me. prayer, whatever the case may be. I even joke and say, you know what, God is on his way. God presence is, he's coming. You gonna sit in here with me or whatever. So when I was going through, I tell you guys, when I went through something, I was transitioning. So I said, okay, I have to surrender her. And I've never surrendered a dog before, at least in my adult life. But I'm very familiar with pit bulls. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I'm going to just leave that there. So, pit bulls is kind of like the least likely to be adopted because of the stigma around them. But I was just kind of like in a place like I just have to surrender her at this time. So my baby, she took it, my daughter, she took it hard, and, she really, really, it really hurt her, and it also hurted me too. But, I had to be strong. So people were saying, oh, you need to, just sell her or see if somebody want to buy her. So I'm like, okay, they're going to kill her and she may not make it. But you know who I do know? I know who God is. And my God said, ask me a hard thing. I went into my secret place as a little girl and I said, God, don't kill Cookie. Get her into a new, beautiful family that loves her and so she can keep her life. And I kept praying. So it came to the time for my surrender appointment. It was on a Saturday. And I got there a little early. And the place opened up at 11 and I'm there like at 10:30 or whatever. I think I had something to do that day. So I got there early. So I'm knocking on the door. Nobody comes. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, God, I know you're going to do your part. And moving with expectancy at this point, because I know God is not going to, he's going to honor my prayer. So somebody pulls up and I thought it was a worker. So I said, do you work here? And they're like, no. And they're like, they kind of sat there for a little bit. And then they ended up approaching me, asking me, did Cookie need water? And I'm like, no. So they're like, what's wrong with her? I'm like, nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to surrender her. I'm just not in a place right now, to take care of her at this time. So, the person was like, she's beautiful, I'll take her. So we're talking, she gets Cookie or whatever. I didn't even have to. That's one way God shows up. I'm thinking in the back of my head, like God is always in control. So we ended up exchanging information and staying connected on social media. So I go home and I tell my baby, I'm like, okay, Cookie got adopted. She didn't even have to be processed within the shelter. However, what I didn't know was the hole in our hearts and the kind of like emptiness we would, experience in our home because we kind of like miss Cookie. She was, that's my baby. I'm like, dang, this is why dog owners go hard for their dogs. All right. So we kind of was like her crying and, we took it hard. So we got busy enjoying ourselves, hanging out, going out, and I'm still keeping in communication with Cookie's new family. They're sending me pictures. We stand in communication. So one day I reach us out and I'm like, okay, how is Cookie holding up? What I didn't understand is that the person that ended up adopting Cookie, she has a program in a ministry. I call it ministry because she's definitely doing the Lord's work, where they kind of like, or group where they kind of like rescue dogs who are about to be killed or surrendered in the shelter, or dogs who have special needs, the least likely to get adopted. Mind you, this lady drove all the way to from Alabama, and she actually had an animal named Cookie. So for me to have a dog named Cookie, she's like, you know what, we're talking. She's like, this has to be God. I'm like, yeah, it's very much sounded like it. So we started, I ended up asking questions about Cookie, is she mixing well with the other dogs, because she did have other dogs and things like that. So I guess she kind of sensed that I wanted Cookie back and ended up, first she said we can do split care. I don't know what split care is. Okay. Or did you want her back full time? Now, mind you, it's been about 4 weeks. Cookie is gone. So this was not something instantaneous. This was her being gone for 4 weeks. Like, what is the likelihood of surrendering your dog and able to get them back? Usually people who surrender dogs to the shelter, you're probably not going to get them back. You're probably not going to see them. They probably not even going to live that long. So she kind of just was like, hey, look, you can get Cookie back. Before I ended up messaging her back, I just started crying. Oh my goodness. I just started bawling out in tears. And this was a conversation we had in the morning. We're messaging each other on social media. And I ended up just crying because God is so good. I said, what kind of God cares about the smallest of things like your dog? Like, God knew what was going on in my heart. I had already asked God to save Cookie, make sure she doesn't, have to be put down and she goes to a good home. I didn't go back to God and say, okay, God, bring her back. I thought I was just doing a little too much, and I didn't even have to say it. I thought that he released it from heaven and made a way. I'm telling you, he's awesome. So she lives in Alabama. I ended up driving and meeting her halfway and picking up Cookie and bringing her back home. So now Cookie is back home with us in the presence of God, worshiping and all that good stuff. So when I tell you that he is in control, he's in control. He cares about everything in our life. This God that I serve cares about everything in my life. He cares about even my dog. Come on now. God is awesome. He came through in such a beautiful way, and I love that. I'm telling you guys, trust God. He loves his babies. He will never leave or forsake his babies. Never seen the righteous forsaken. God said, I want to be God of everything. And listen, being taken care of like this, religion is something I knew. All right. I knew the formalities of religion. All right. But relationship and seeing God come through in this way has basically made my faith even more robust. Being radical is the standard because I trust God and I love him so much. And I said, God, I know you can do this for your babies, your daughters, your sons. I know you can. You remember you were a kid and you like, can so-and-so have a popsicle? Your friend come over and stuff like that. And they just reaping the goodness and just by being your friend, they're experiencing and getting that overflow and glory on them. All right. From a person a few months ago, barely making it, still trusting in God, still testifying of his goodness, living check to check, barely even, liking the car that I'm in, barely even, but I'm going to trust you, God. I know you're going to do your part. So I definitely hope this message helps someone. I definitely hope this gave you a new level of faith in God because he cares. He loves you. Everything about you matter. All right. No longer living hard wig, soft life. I'm soft wig, a soft life. Okay. And I love that for me. I definitely am just reaping my harvest. All right. New heart. All right. New mind, new level of faith, new level of wisdom, new level of understanding. All right. And I'm so happy that God did his thing. He is the potter. I am the clay. Until next time.